So, we've been discussing the fact that it's really hard to predict next season. It's really hard to predict who's going to be in the playoffs, who's going to be out, who's going to be on their way up, who's going to be on their way down. So, the NHL.com website's doing it anyways. Even though my predictions could be completely off, everybody's could be. Yvonne could make predictions that could be just as accurate as mine, as strange as that may sound.
Why is that so strange?
She could. She could. And we'll get into that as we get closer to the season. But there's no point in doing those predictions now because there's no way of telling what might happen between now and October. Guys get hurt during the summer. I don't know how that happens, but Sami Salo always managed to get hurt during the summer. And guys get hurt during the summer. It happens. So NHL.com, not getting the memo, has released the top 25 fantasy goaltenders for 17-18. They have Carey Price at number 1, of course. Matt Murray at number 2. The strange thing is Matt Murray didn't have a great fantasy season this past year. I know he was great in the playoffs. He was great in the playoffs the year before. He hasn't had a great fantasy regular season. 3, they have Braden Holtby. Well, Washington just went through a gutting of their roster. 4, they have Bobrovsky. I don't mind Bobrovsky. I think he's a pretty safe pick. Jake Allen at 5, Cam Talbot at 6, Pekka Rinne at 7. Rinne's weird because Rinne hasn't been a great regular season goaltender, and any advanced statistician will tell you that. Gibson is at 8 for Anaheim. Devin Dubnyk's at 9. For some strange reason, they have Dubnyk behind Gibson. Martin Jones is at 10. Tuukka Rask is at 11. Jonathan Quick's at 12. Ben Bishop at 13. Corey Crawford's at 14. So they must be predicting that Chicago's going to fall back. Because there's no other reason to have Tuukka Rask ahead of Corey Crawford. Henrik Lundqvist is 15. Brian Elliott 16. Andrei Vasilevsky 17. Frederik Anderson 18. Mike Smith 19. Corey Schneider 20. Craig Anderson 21. Jaro Halak 22. Scott Darling 23. Marc-Andre Fleury 24, ahead of Robin Lehner at 25. The interesting thing is they say Miller and Niemi, who will back up Murray for the Penguins, are worth handcuffing or at least keeping an eye on for the first few weeks of the season. So this is for people who draft out a full team, so 2 goalies, blah blah blah. So they're saying that Miller will probably play more games than your average backup, which is fine. But then they have Gibson at number 8 on the list, ahead of Dubnyk, who will play a ton of games, probably get you more wins and more shutouts. And I think Crawford's going to play a ton too. And then they say just missed Connor Hellebuck of Winnipeg, Roberto Luongo of Florida, Steve Mason of Winnipeg. Does that mean that Mason's past Hellebuck? Hellebuck the rating higher? Because they have Howard next. And then next after that's James Reimer of Florida. It's a bewildering list. It really is. It's a bewildering list. And I'm sure when I load up the comments that it's going to be people saying that it is a bewildering list. So last season's Vezina winner starts out in 4th place. Price is number 1. This list is so random. I disagree. Can't understand why Calgary gave up on Brian Elliott and Chad Johnson after just 1 season. And as the text says here about Brian Elliott, sure, he's had a bad start. Johnson did a great job. Elliott struggled. Blah, 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 blah. And then it's basically a Calgary fan upset that Calgary is going with Mike Smith instead of Brian Elliott, because Elliott's rated higher than Smith here. But that's a weird one too, because Smith has Lack for a backup. Neuvirth's the backup for Elliott. I would think both of them will play about 60 games. So is Philly being projected by them to be better than Calgary? Because when you're taking your fantasy team, it's normally wins, shutouts. Games played usually don't come into it. So is there some other stat I'm missing here that they're taking into consideration? And why is it that when they do the just missed the list, they have Hellebuck first and Mason after, and they're not going in alphabetical order because they got Howard after Mason. So Howard for Detroit just missed, so they have Howard rated higher than Mrazek? Is that just because Mrazek's on the outs with Holland, the GM, in Detroit? Because I can think of plenty of times where a GM is arguing with a player, that player gets hot, and all of a sudden those arguments are forgotten. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Detroit, but it could. So it is really weird to me that the NHL site has this. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. I mean, they've got... Let's just go through where I think the list is weird. Again, Matt Murray at number 2. He didn't have great stats last year. So, statistically, I don't know that he's a great goaltender for you, because if save percentage comes into it at all, he may not be a great regular season goaltender. He may be the Chris Osgood of his generation. Chris Osgood was a great playoff goaltender. He was good during the regular season, sometimes mediocre. Jake Allen ahead of Cam Talbot, okay. Pekka Rinne ahead of Devin Dubnyk is weird, and that has to be based on the playoffs from this past spring. And if Nashville doesn't go to the final, there's no way Pekka Rinne's at number 7. And Rinne is going to lose starts to Saros. That's going to start this year, because Rinne's not young either. When a goaltender goes on a long streak or on a winning streak like this, and it happened with Marty Brodeur when he had that one last run back in 2012. It sort of masks that they're getting older, and it makes you think they can still do it, but nobody escapes Father Time. And Pekka Rinne, while I love what he did during the playoffs and he was fantastic, I think they're going to cut his starts back. I think they want to see I think they're going to want to see starting this year if Saros is going to be that next starter. So I wouldn't have him that high. And Tuukka Rask over Jonathan Quick is just a fool's errand, unless they know Quick's going to get hurt. And I wouldn't take Rask over Bishop either. I wouldn't be surprised if Boston missed the playoffs this coming season. They missed the playoffs 2 out of the last 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took a step back this year. Now, with their blue line, I don't think they will, but it could happen. And I would not put Tuukka Rask that high. And Lundqvist, I'm baffled by some of this list. And Freddie Anderson played well. I don't know that I'd have Vasilevsky at 17 either. One of the reasons I think Tampa's going to be a contender is I think Vasilevsky's a very good goaltender. He played very, very well down the stretch. He didn't play particularly well before Ben Bishop got traded. After Bishop got traded, he was a much better goaltender, and he really came into his own by the end of the year, and there was full confidence from Tampa, and as far as I know, any of their fans, that he was going to be the starter coming this fall. And they don't have Budaj mentioned in here, so they're not betting on Budaj getting a lot of starts for Tampa. And then there's Smith at 19, Corey Schneider at 20, which I think is low. I think if you look at save percentage and you look at shutouts, I think Schneider's going to be good. And I think his win total may be higher than projected, because I don't think Kincaid's going to play more than about 20 to 25 games. So as long as Jersey makes some kind of modest improvement, and as long as Corey Schneider's playing like Corey Schneider, he's going to be much better than 20th. Craig Anderson at 21st is bewildering, and Halak being ahead of Darling. I don't know where to start with that. I mean, Halak played part of the season this past year in the American League. And Greiss and Halak are still this odd 1A, 1B tandem. And I would argue that Greiss right now is probably a better goaltender than Halak. This is why. And people have been asking me, like, oh, do this projection, this projection, this prediction. I can't yet, because it's too far out. And I guarantee that NHL.com is going to have to revise this prediction before the season starts. So here's my question to you. Which of these goalies that I read off to you, and I'll link to this article in the description underneath this video, which goalie's in the wrong spot? Too high or too low? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for helping accompany me on these 2 weeks off. And we will be going straight back to work tomorrow, but I will be home after work tomorrow to discuss more hockey-related topics with you. So I will be getting into preseason predictions soon, okay? Because it just seems like free agency has just died off the last few days. I had expected guys like Vanek and Yager to find homes. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I'll give it another week, and then after that we'll start doing predictions on where teams are going to go in the season. I organized all of my jerseys today with the help of my lovely lady friend Yvonne. I got all the jerseys organized. I have 107 currently. I have a couple more coming in the mail. So people have always asked, how many do you have? There you go. Currently 107 and 2 more coming. So that's 109, and that is not including the ones that are available for giveaway through my Patreon. And I mailed one jersey out last week. There's another jersey going in the mail tomorrow. And I will be messaging 2 more patrons regarding which jersey they want out of the basket of goodies. So, you know, I'm delayed on sending those out, and I apologize for that. It's been crazy, but once the wedding is done this coming weekend, and then with everything with my son and all those distractions taken care of now, apparently he's on his way to do his own thing, and I wish him well. I have now got myself into a place where I should have a lot less burdening my mind. I've had a lot of stuff going on up here that's been bothering me lately. So I should be much more relaxed and comfortable and organized. So that's my plan. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for helping the channel grow. Every time you like, comment, and share a video, it is greatly appreciated. I will be back to talk to you guys tomorrow. If you're just strolling through the internet and you came across this video, hit like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys again tomorrow, Monday, July 10th. Back to work. All right. Good night, all.